Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we dive in deep into a specific and sometimes tricky warning you might see on your Rotax Engine Management Unit, or EMU. The lane B warning. Specifically, we'll be focusing on a backup lane fault. If you've ever had this solid or blinking warning light pop up, you know it can be a bit concerning. But don't worry, we're gonna walk through what it means, what causes it, and how you can troubleshoot it effectively. First, let's understand what lane B actually is. Think of your engine's control system as having two parallel pathways, lane A and lane B. Lane A is your primary control lane, managing things like ignition and fuel injection based on a whole suite of sensor inputs. Lane B is its trusty sidekick, the backup lane. Its main job is to constantly monitor key engine parameters through its own set of dedicated sensors and make sure everything is running as it should. It acts as a safety net. If lane A were to fail, lane B is designed to take over and keep the engine running, albeit in a more simplified get-to-home mode. So, when you get a lane B warning, the system is telling you that the backup lane has detected a problem. It's found an abnormal value from one of its sensors. This doesn't mean the engine is about to fail. In fact, your primary lane, lane A, is likely running perfectly fine, and the engine is operating normally. But it does mean that your safety backup is compromised, and that's something you need to address as soon as you're safely on the ground. The three main culprits behind a lane B backup fault are its dedicated sensors. These are the manifold air pressure sensor, often called the MAP sensor, the oil pressure sensor, and the exhaust gas temperature, or EGT sensors. Lane B has its own independent set of these sensors to cross-check the engine's health. The fault is triggered when the value from one of these sensors goes outside its expected range. It could be reading too high, too low, or it might have just dropped out completely. So, how do we figure out which one is causing the headache? The first step is to connect to your engine's diagnostic software. This is absolutely the most direct way to pinpoint the problem. The software will read the fault code stored in the EMU and tell you exactly which sensor circuit is reporting an error. For example, you might say EGT sensor 3 circuit malfunction or MAP sensor B correlation error. This immediately narrows down your search and saves you a ton of time. Let's say the diagnostic software points to an EGT sensor. Your next step is a thorough visual inspection. Start at the sensor itself, which is screwed into the exhaust manifold. Is it secure? Is the wiring connector firmly plugged in? Look closely at the wires leading away from the sensor. Trace them as far as you can. You're looking for any signs of damage. Remember, the NG bay is a harsh environment with a lot of heat and vibration. Wires can become brittle. Insulation can crack, or they can rub against a sharp edge or a hot exhaust pipe. A chafed wire that is shorting to the engine block is a very common cause for this kind of fault. If the wiring looks good, the next step is to test the sensor itself. For an EGT sensor, which is a type of thermocouple, you can check its resistance with a The exact resistance value will depend on the ambient temperature, so you'll want to consult your Rotax maintenance manual for the correct specifications. If the sensor's resistance is way off, or if it shows an open circuit, you've found your problem. It's time to replace the sensor. The same logic applies to the MAP sensor and the oil pressure sensor. After identifying the suspect sensor with the diagnostic tool, inspect its wiring and connector. Look for any damage, corrosion in the pins, or loose connections. With the MAP sensor, also check the vacuum hose connected to it. Is it cracked, kinked, or disconnected? A leak in this hose can cause the sensor to read incorrectly and trigger the lane B fault. If the wiring and hose are okay, testing the sensor itself is the next step. Again, the maintenance manual will provide the procedure and expected values for testing it with a In many cases, the fix is straightforward. It could be as simple as securing a loose connector, repairing a small section of damaged wire with a proper splice and heat shrink, or replacing a faulty sensor. When replacing a sensor, always use genuine Rotax parts to ensure compatibility and reliability. After you've completed the repair, it's crucial to clear the fault codes from the EMU using the diagnostic software. Then, run the engine and check if the lane B warning disappears. To sum it up, a lane B warning for a backup fault means your engine's safety net has a problem. Don't panic, but don't ignore it. Use diagnostic software to identify the faulty sensor circuit, map, or oil pressure. Then, perform a detailed inspection of the wiring and connections for that sensor. Test the component if the wiring looks good, and replace it if it's out of spec. By following this systematic approach, you can diagnose and fix the issue with confidence. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this guide helps you troubleshoot that lane. Be warning if you ever encounter it. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more aircraft maintenance tips and tricks. Fly safe, and we'll see you in the next one.